So it's February 21st. I had to look at my watch there. It's after 7:30. I got a late start this morning heading out to the range. I planned on going to the Desert Marksmen range today to do some load testing and shoot a little bit of distance. I left the house a lot later than I expected, just getting some stuff squared away and whatnot. So we're actually, based on what Waze is telling me, I'm getting there at 8:30, which is kind of late, comparatively speaking, but I don't anticipate that many people going to be there since, there's usually not many people there to begin with on a Wednesday. Plus, it's going to be cold. I think it's going to be like 35 to 40 degrees, so we'll see how it is. It's just after 0900. I'm here at the Desert Marksmen range. I set up targets at 100 and 300, just paper. I didn't set up my steel. I may or may not do that later. But I have here, if you follow my Instagram, the new Peterson 6mm Creedmoor brass. This is small rifle primer brass. I bought 200 pieces. We'll try this out because I wanted to find a good brass offering that was native 6mm Creedmoor and not neck down 6.5. So I've loaded 4350 Hodgdon 4350 H4350, shooting the Burger 105s with starting from 39.5 grains to 39.8, 40.0, 40.2, and the 40.5, 10 rounds each. The load that I use with neck down lapua brass is actually 41.2, but in talking with Derek Peterson of Peterson Cartridge, he said that most people drop about a full grain from their lapua load. So I dropped about a grain and a half, and then I'm going to work my way up. Third shot is 3 feet per second. So assuming at 39.5 is going to hover around 3010 or 3,000 feet per second, I'm going to assume that 41 grains would have been right for this brass, but we'll have to shoot more rounds just to confirm. Fourth shot is 30-12, so 3,000 to 3,010 feet per second is about where we're going to be, I think, with 39.5 grains, H4350. Now, as far as this Peterson brass is concerned, you can buy it in in bulk lots of 500, but if you buy it in 50s, they'll actually put it into a plastic case, which is really cool, and it actually has a on it, so it says Peterson brass. This one's actually cracked. It got cracked in shipping. I guess it took a hit when they dropped the box, or USPS, but whatever. No big deal. But it's kind of cool that they give you nice reloadable or reusable reloading boxes if you buy in lots of 50. So I didn't bother to check to see if the lots were the same on all 4 boxes that I got, but I'm assuming they are. But I will double check when I get home. Based on the temperature of my Mudmaster, it is 49.6 degrees right now, which isn't too bad. And it's actually nice when you're in the sun, so it's not too cold. As long as the wind doesn't pick up, it shouldn't be too bad as far as wind chill is concerned. So with 40 grains of 4350 with the 105s and the Peterson Cartridge brass, it's just a 5-shot aggregate, but you're looking at an average of 30-23 feet per second, extreme spread of 7, but with a standard deviation of 6.4, which is not bad. It would have been better. That last shot was probably the low of that 5-shot aggregate. But it looks like it started to shrink up a bit from the 39.8. So 42 and 40.5 should probably be the next node as far as the barrel harmonics and the barrel width is concerned. So we'll go ahead and shoot that group in a few minutes, 40.2. Looks like the average for 40.2 is 30-35, standard deviation of 5.7, extreme spread of 15. The 5-shot aggregate. I anticipate that 40.5 will be just around 30-45 to 30-50 feet per second, which isn't very high. I'm gonna shoot these last 5 rounds at 100, then we're gonna stretch it out a little bit to the 300-yard target. Granted, I don't think I'm gonna want to use these loads because they're on the low end of the spectrum for velocities. But it's, well, since I'm out here, may as well test them at 300. So 30-54 for the first shot, 40.5 grains. No cratering. Primers, you know, it's starting to flatten just a little bit, but there's still the beveled edge between the primer and the primer pocket. So not too concerned there. So at 40.5, the average is 30-52. Standard deviation is 6.2, extreme spread of 16. So here's a rundown of the groups that I shot. This is starting off with 39.5, which is not, this is actually the first 5 rounds and I threw the 6th. This is 39.8. It kind of widened up. This is 40.0. This one is 40.2 and this one is 40.5. Starting to get some vertical stringing at 40.5, but 40.2 and 40 look solid together. So I'm not sure if this is a red herring. Maybe 40.2 might be a good node to stick with. Granted, this is a 100-yard test, and a better test for a node might be at 300, but we might focus on 40.2, or I might try to shoot more 40.5 and then work my way up to 41, because right here this is around 50 feet per second. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot at 300. I have no idea what, I forgot to bring my trajectory charts, but I'm just going to dial 0.6 of a mil up and shoot from there at 300. And I'm going to work my way backwards. I'm going to shoot the 40.5s and then work my way down as far as the powder charge weights. So I shot 5 rounds at 40 of the 40.5 at 300. Not too keen on what happened here. I shot a round high, but here's the vertical dispersion at 300 yards, which isn't too bad if we isolate that shot out. I need to come up. I think the zero on this is off still for these loads, but I'm gonna put another pacer on here and then a couple pacers and shoot a few more groups, or I might just go and shoot on the same pacer and just circle these dots so I know which one's which. So I was circling these shots, and this actually is these are 2 shots right here. So these are the other 3, so it's a 5-shot group here. This, I don't know what it is. It's not an actual shot. If you look at the back of the board, this isn't actually a shot. I don't know what happened here. Some sort of, I don't want to say it's a ricochet, but this is definitely 2 shots right here. That's 2 shots. I'm not sure what happened here. It's possible that I actually put my target at 100 yards might have actually ricocheted when I shot through it and it hit this. So maybe I didn't notice that there was a break here. So yeah, this is 5 shots. So now I'm not feeling too bad about what happened here. So this is definitely 5 shots over the 40.5. So the 40.0 grains, 5-shot aggregate at 300 yards, were average with 30.29, but the extreme spread is 8 and the standard deviation is 3.4, which is really good. And I think the group at 300 is not that bad. I should have put another 300 pacer out there just so I can shoot the last group of 39, shoot 39.8, 39.5, but I don't think I'm going to bother since I'm not even going to use these. I'm not even going to load this low. I think 39s, under 40 is not going to be where I want to be with this this brass. So I'll go and burn it up on some steel out there. So that's pretty much it for, I guess, the Peterson brass that I brought, or Peterson Cartridge brass. And based on what I see here, I think the brass is solid. No pressure issues, but I don't have my macro lens with me, so I'm gonna, when I do my write-up, I'll take photos, macro photos of all the primers the shot primers to show you what it looks like. But I wish I'd loaded up to 41.0 because it looks like 41.0 would have been exactly like my Lapua loads, my neck down Lapua. So based on the initial testing, it seems like Peterson brass is on par with Lapua as far as powder charge that you'll use. So your recipe should almost be the same as Lapua brass if you use neck down 6.5 Creedmoor to 6. So barring a macro lens, this is the best I can do as far as showing you what the primers look like. But in general, they all look pretty good. You do see it, them all have that distinct flattening look, but the bevel between the primer pocket and the primer still exists, so it's still distinct. It's not like it's completely bled out. So there is no significant pressure issues. Primers aren't cratering, and it should be fine. So I don't know if anyone's had any problems with Peterson brass so far, but it looks good with 6 Creedmoor small rifle primers. Do a little tripod shooting a lot here. I'm gonna shoot on the club steel. They got steel targets like every 100 yards or every 100 yards or so. They're fairly big, so it's gonna be hard to miss. At least from a bench. Tripod I can mess up, but since I'm out here, might as well shoot a little bit of 6.5 Creedmoor. This is my Savage, for those who haven't seen this gun before in my previous vlogs. But let's see. I can't compare, don't have my dope card, so let's take a wild guess on, I think 1.1 for 300, maybe? I could be wrong, but let's try it. Yep, that's a hit. As much as I appreciate what the Savage action is, and for a budgetary gun, using a Savage action and after coming from, using a custom action, you realize how bad Savage actions are as far as being smooth, or being rough rather. So, I mean, it's just the movement. I mean, lateral movement. If you put any pressure laterally, left or right, while you're operating the bolt, it just does not want to move. Even if you grease the sucker up, it just has too much tension, too much resistance. So, if you read my article, my SHOT Show after action, I talked about the Bighorn, the new Bighorn arms that's under $1,000, and the American Rifle Company Nucleus. Those two actions are $1,000 or less. And now we're getting into custom actions that are costing sub $1,000. And at this point in time, there's eventually going to be no real reason for people to buy factory guns. You may as well just get a custom action for a couple hundred more. So that's kind of where I see the market going right now. I think a lot of these custom firearms manufacturers are going to start making. They're going to be able to cut costs without cutting quality, and so we're going to see in the next couple of years, I think, a lot more custom actions being built by shooters. I don't think it'll impact the factory gun market too much. Guys like Remington, albeit going file for bankruptcy, Ruger, and all the other manufacturers, I think their bottom line is not going to get hurt. They're going to still have their customer base, and they're going to move enough units. But I think, in general, the shooting community wins out when they come up with these very nice options by which people can start building custom rifles with top quality, quality control, fit and finish, for only a few thousand more, if you come think about it, than a factory gun, unless you start delving into all the other stuff like high-end barrel, custom triggers, etc. But I think in the long run, people better should, you know, I've done it before. I've bought a factory gun and upgraded all the parts over a long period of time. But in general, that's just wasting money, in a sense. Because you're sort of building on an action that's not all that great to begin with. It needs to be trued. So you may as well just build off of a good action to begin with, since that's the heart of the rifle. Although some would argue the barrel. It's almost noon. I've packed up all my gear, the Desert Marksmen range. Guys been coming in and out as far as on the main line or the 600-yard line. So it's still a quiet day. It's actually not as cold as you would think. In the shade or on the line when the wind is kind of blowing, it is a little cold. But if you're standing out in the sun, it's warm enough as long as there's no breeze. And right now it's right, and I would estimate it 1 to 2 miles an hour, really no wind at all. But it's a nice day at the range. I'm glad I came out. A little disappointed that the Peterson Cartridge brass actually loads similarly to Lapua. So I should have just used the same exact load. I should have tried going up to 41 and 41.2, 41.5 to test the upper limits of the cartridge or the brass. But you know what? That's just the way you have to play the game when you're hand loading. You always got to work up. You got to do it safely. So next time I go out I'll probably just go to West End and do the tests of 40.8 maybe, and then 41 and 41.2, 41.3 grains, and see how that compares to neck down 6.5 Creedmoor Lapua brass. But I anticipate they're going to shoot the same. I will say though that the Peterson brass, the extreme spreads and the standard deviations I was seeing after the barrel kind of warmed up were insanely good. I mean, you're hovering at 10 for the extreme spread, give or take, and then your standard deviations under 10. And considering that my reloading process is not ideal, I still use this 10-plus-year-old packed packed digital precision scale. It's not that good, to be honest. You only got 1/10 of a grain. And the way I hand load it, it's kind of trying to trickle it to get that point, 0.1. You don't know if it's truly, is it 40.2? Is it 40.3? Is it 40.2 points, 40.27? So that's the that's the unfortunate aspect of having a scale of that inaccuracy. So I'm probably going to go ahead and invest in my next gun-related purchase. Is going to be the, I think it's called the FX 120i. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's that scale that most guys are using. It's a lab grade scale in conjunction with the auto trickler. And then I'm going to get the auto thrower. And I think out the door, well, it's going to be around $1,000, $1,200. But it's a price you got to pay if you want a good scale and a good method by which to speedily load or weigh charges of powder and then drop them in. So I'm probably going to go ahead and invest in that. At the very least, I'm going to get the FX 120i scale and then the auto trickler, and then the auto thrower is going to be a plus, but I think that's going to be beneficial to get that. So I'm probably going to spend $1,000 or so on that. That's my next investment. But it's kind of hard to do all that because I've been trying to mess around with this Jeep, and I'm going to record a video talking about all the money I spent so far on the Jeep. It isn't really much. No hardcore mods, but it's just money I spent because this Wrangler Rubicon didn't come with some things that it needs, in my opinion. So I spent a little bit of money after the fact, after I wrote that check for the vehicle at the dealer. So I did spend a little bit more. Granted, I spent less than I did had they included some things like the headline, the hardtop headliner. I think that's a $495 add-on, but you get the Mopar official ones for just over $200 or $250 online. So technically I did save money if I went that route. But that being said, I've been spending some money on the Jeep after the fact. So I mean, kind of the money that would go towards shooting obviously has been going to the Jeep. So anyway, that's kind of it for today. It's a beautiful day. It's probably right now in the sun. about 60 degrees. But if you get the thermometer and probably put it in the shade, it's going to be about just a hair over 50. But it's a nice day out right now, and I'm glad I took the day off from work to come out to the range and then shoot some of this Peterson Cartridge brass that I was eager to get after SHOT Show and after talking to Derek Peterson at SHOT Show and finding out that they're making 6mm Creedmoor Small Rifle Primer brass. So expect a little bit more more video of me working up some loads. I'm probably going to do those at West End sometime. Maybe this weekend or middle or early weekday morning next week, and then I'm gonna have a write-up on the Peterson Cartridge brass. So just a quick aside to the last vlog, no one's really submitted for the to get the hats or the knives. So definitely, if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and put in for it. I mean, you still have a chance. By the time I upload this, I can almost guarantee that no one has submitted anything to get the hats or the knives. So you have a pretty good chance of getting a free hat, assuming you have the prerequisite items to take a photo of and tag me in that said photo on social media. So that's it for now. Today is Wednesday, right at noon, February 21st, here at the Desert Marksmen range. Thanks for watching the vlog, and I'll see you next time.